Hey, how's everybody doing? It's Blair here. Just thought I would do a quick demonstration on my technique for cutting the PET sleeve or jacketing for hoses. Um, uh, there were some questions on the forum asked about how I did that. Anyway, I thought it would just be easier to do a quick demonstration. So anyway, really my objective was to try to not so much replicate braided hose as it was to replicate the factory covering. And by the way, most of the factory PET type expanded sleeving on the hoses is pretty rough. It truly is pretty crude. And anyway, this is just my technique to prevent the ends from fraying when you cut this. So to start, you're going to need some sort of a heat source. I have, honestly, this old Trigger soldering iron was my dad's, I think from the, it's a Weller 100, 140 watt. I can remember it as a kid, and that's, I hate to admit how long ago that was, but that's a long time ago. And then, of course, you're going to need some sort of a blade cutter. And honestly, I didn't know that these were readily available off the shelf for these. You can still get these, right? But I made one out of a piece of copper wire, seriously, before I had ordered this one. Really just bent it up, the shape of the blade kind of thing. Of course, you need to bend these to fit into the... Anyway, long story short, I cut most of my sleeving with this blade. So that's what you're going to need. And because I wasn't prepared to invest in a whole bunch of fancy cutting equipment, you're going to need a way to stand this up, or at least I did anyway. So what better way than a spring clamp to do that? And in order to keep the trigger down, I just had this goofy clamp in my toolbox, and there you go. Trigger is on. and in order to cut this, so we'll just let that heat up a little bit. But really, this is pretty simple technique to do this. Once this is up to temperature, which I think I've already been doing this, so I'm sure it's pretty warm. Oh, and by the way, I'm not responsible for your own injuries. Just thought to throw that disclaimer out. I'm barely responsible for my own, so can't be responsible for yours either. And really, it's just a matter of squaring this up, right? You want a nice, clean, straight cut here. Just either side. This is going to be too easy. You're going to be shocked and amazed as was I. And really, the heat, square it up and just kind of rotate it in a little bit, and voila, just like that. And you can practice to get, usually I stick my finger in there. Some guys will put it while it's still warm just to expand it a little bit. And honestly, that will give you an almost perfect non-fraying edge for your hose covering, just like that, seriously. And it'll look something. I already put this on here because for demonstration purposes, is a chunk of 3/4 inch hose, and you can see I was able to get a nice clean finish up to a 12 or -12 AN push lock. This slides up, and it looks almost like braided hose. Not the intent. The intent is really just to demonstrate how really easy this is to do that. You want to see me do another one? Okay, let's do this side. Again, square it up. It's nice and clean. And whoops, I'll need to rotate this in. It's just a matter of, and you'll get the feel for it. It's that simple, just like that. There you go. And perfect every time. Every time. Seriously, it's that simple. And because, this stuff is directly off of Amazon. This is 3/4 inch, 100 feet. Like, I'm never going to use 100 feet of this stuff, but it was so inexpensive and cheap. And I've had this stuff on the car for a couple of years, and it still looks great, I think. In fact, to be quite honest with you, if I had a picture between what the factory comes with and this stuff, I don't know, this stuff looks really good. So yeah, it's honestly that simple. So again, pull that off. That's my own little cheaply thing. I know it's pretty crude, right? But man, it works. So there you go. That's all I got to tell you, and that's how I do it, and seems to work pretty good. So any questions, you can hit me up. Thanks.